Take it away, Shane.
All right. Hey, Shane. I just hit the space bar there.
Oh, I got you. Okay, well, I'm doing a presentation on the Federal Reserve System, something we should all be at least a little bit familiar about coming to a Campaign for Liberty meeting. We're going to go over the brief history of the Fed, what the Fed is up to right now, and then we're going to talk about ways in which we can fight the Fed to stop the madness that they're perpetrating on all of us and all the economy. It was planned by the world's masters of finance who gathered on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia in 1910. They said that they were going on a duck hunting trip, and it was completely ignored by the mainstream press. And then 3 years later, the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913. Signed into law by Woodrow Wilson, and that was the same year that the IRS was enacted as well. Probably the worst year in the history of the republic.
Woodrow was a real special.
Yeah, and again, since it was passed, the dollar has lost over 97% of its value. And again, so this ravenous inflation has been unleashed upon us over the past century. And generally unbeknownst to the public, because so few people out there understand economics and central banking. And a century of debt, big government, and war have been ushered in as a direct result from the Federal Reserve being passed. And no way the government could fund all the things that they're doing right now, not by a long shot, without their ability to print money endlessly, which is what the Fed does. The Fed is pretty much the enabler for everything that we hate as liberty activists. And now, what is the Fed up to right now? The Fed is right now, they're pursuing a policy called quantitative easing, which is a euphemism for aggressive money printing. They've already killed over 97% of the dollar before quantitative easing was initiated. So just imagine how bad it's going to be now. And right now they're buying up $85 billion monthly in toxic assets that have no value to the economy to prop up the banking system. This obviously isn't being done to help the little guy. Bankers commit these scams knowing that the taxpayer will fit the bill for them thanks to the Fed. And this quantitative easing has been going on in various forms since the banking crash and Great Recession. Right now we're in QE3. QE1 and 2 were less inflationary and less open-ended than the current round of QE. QE3 has been called QE Infinity because it was slated to go on indefinitely. But it was announced recently that it was going to be curtailed. But the Fed says they're tapering it off soon, but you can't trust these guys. Yeah. And it's to be expected that more money printing and bailouts will occur. As long as the bankers need it, the Fed will be there to bail them out no matter what. Okay, now there's more what the Fed's up to right now. And again, this is the balance sheet of the Fed, as measured by billions of dollars. This shows what the Fed has been up to since its inception. As you can see, there wasn't too much creation of new money until the 1970s when we were taken off the gold standard. But again, this is something that's worth pointing out, is that Bernanke has created more than 2 times more than 2 times the amount of new money than all the previous Fed chairs combined. So when you hear a liberal parrot the establishment line that the Fed's sitting on the sidelines, or not enough money and stimulus are being created, that's what you should tell them to completely put an end to that nonsense. And also, I'd like to thank Robert Murphy of the Mises Institute for pointing this graph out and giving me the information for here. And check out the Mises Institute for all his economic wisdom and many others as well. Now, the question is, what can we do? The good news is that thanks to the Campaign for Liberty and Ron Paul, more people are informed about this issue than ever before. Again, Ron has awakened millions to the true nature of the banking system, So there are more of our representatives willing to listen and take action. Whereas the Pope used to look at the Fed like they were infallible. Now they're recognized as counterfeiters and frauds. Before all you'd hear was worship of the central planners, especially when Greenspan was in office. But now they're a joke. Just all you gotta do is search Bernanke's 25 worst flubs online, and you'll see he's on the record being incorrect about so many things that it's absurd. But there are three ways you can fight back. Through supporting legislation in Congress, you can fight back individually, and you can lobby your state reps and senators to nullify the Fed. And we're gonna get to those right now. And again, audit the Fed legislation. Two pieces of legislation have been introduced this year to audit the Fed. One is from Representative Paul Brown. You can't see the quote there, unfortunately, but he's running for the Senate as a Liberty candidate in Georgia, and he's very solid on many Liberty issues. And there's a money bond for him actually on July 12th if you're interested in helping get another decent man in the Senate. And he introduced H.R. 24, and Rand Paul introduced S. 209, both to audit the Fed. And how to lobby your Congress to get these people to support these bills is available at that URL. This is a URL that takes you to a form email that makes it very easy for you to contact your legislators with the click of a button.
Can you read us the quote?
Again, it's all formatted very weird, but he basically says, I salute Ron Paul for his tirelessly, unwavering dedication to auditing the Federal Reserve. Moving forward, my plan is to pick up the fight where Congressman Paul left off. No problem. But unfortunately, both Fed audit bills have been dormant for many months now. It doesn't seem like it's on anyone's radar, and it's very rarely talked about. And again, if it's passed, it will expose the Fed, but it won't do anything to stop their current operations. For instance, there was a partial audit that was passed a few years back that exposed that the Fed was giving trillions of dollars in bailouts to foreign banks. These are startling revelations, obviously, but it didn't result in a change in policy whatsoever. The policies have just gotten more inflationary and more oriented for the big banks since then. So, more effective ways to stop the Fed can be done individually and through the state legislature. The best way to stick it to the Fed is to protect your own assets. Owning physical silver and gold will stop the Fed from being able to inflate away your wealth. Don't hold the paper money that can and has lost its value. Don't put yourself at the mercy of the central bankers. Silver and gold, typically go up when the Fed inflates. Buying precious metals is making a bet that the bankers will keep being corrupt and keep misperforming, and that's a very good bet. And again, the buying time is now because precious metals are the prices of precious metals are shockingly low. Gold right now is at $12.27, and silver's at $18.97, and it's pretty wild. But the markets are very likely being heavily manipulated. But you can take advantage of that and buy.
Yeah. George is right.
Many foreign governments are loading up on gold and silver bullion as we speak, anticipating the turmoil that's to come. And again, two places that I bought silver and gold from are goldmart.com and profitmetals.com, two very reliable sources if you're looking to buy gold and silver online. But the most effective way to take on the Fed is at the state level. Making sound money legal through the state legislature is a way to create competition for the Fed. Ending the Fed can happen if enough states legalize constitutional tender and enough individuals decide to use real money instead of the Fed's funny money. What we want is for people to be informed and to have a choice. Nobody will choose the Fed's rapidly depreciating funny money over the stable, time-tested gold and silver if they're properly educated. And again, here's the model legislation available that will put states back on the path toward gold and silver as money. It's called the Constitutional Tender Act. It's available at constitutionaltender.com. And the bill declares that sound, constitutionally based money is essential to the livelihood of the people of the state and to the stability and growth of the economy of the state and region, and vitally affects the public interest. And again, the bill would make it so that silver and gold are used in transactions, all transactions related to state functions. And by making all state transactions done in gold and silver, it would basically force people to transition away from the Fed's money and get them back into real money. It may seem like a pain in the butt for some, but it will be the first step in a transition back to monetary freedom. And we're having success as well. Right now, in Missouri, the Constitutional Tender Act has passed through the State House of Representatives. It's still pending right now in the Senate. And in Arizona, it passed through the State House and the State Senate, but it was ultimately vetoed by the governor. Jan Brewer, the so-called Tea Party favorite, vetoed the bill after it was passed, denying the will of the people. And as of 2011, the Utah Legal Tender Act was passed and signed into law, which legalized gold and silver as legal tender and put an end to the state sales and capital gains taxes for federally minted precious metals. This is a somewhat of a modified Constitutional Tender Act, but it's a good start. It removes some of the impediments standing in the way of restoring sound money. So, it can be done. The bottom-up approach is what we're going to need to focus on. The Fed isn't just going to relinquish its power itself, so we're going to have to work at the state level to stop the Fed. Here are some resources. To help get the Fed audited, contact your legislators. An easy way to contact them is at the following link. That's the one I provided earlier if you guys want to take that down. Again, and also to protect yourself from the ravenous inflationary money printing, you can go buy gold at those two links or anywhere else. The model legislation available to fight the Fed is at constitutionaltender.com. And the thing that was cut off at the bottom was, for economic news and analysis, go to Mises.org or economicpolicyjournal.com. And again, we can have the success against the Fed as long as we have the correct approach. The Constitutional Tender Act is the best first step in combating the Fed. They only have limited resources, and they can't stop state resistance to their dictates if it happens in enough states. We just need to engage people, inform them, and present the right solutions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.